The story begins with our handsome male lead, Omi, playing a tennis match. Omi is incredibly talented at tennis and is one of the most popular students in school. Not only is he athletic, but he's also extremely handsome. Because of that, almost every girl in school is crazy about him. Our female lead, Erika, is no exception. She has a huge crush on Omi. However, unlike other girls, Erika is very shy and struggles to interact with people. She doesn't have the confidence to approach Omi, so she simply admires him from a distance. Erika is also a fantasy-loving girl. Most of the time, she lives inside her own imagination. She even runs a secret Twitter account called Lovesick Ellie, where she regularly posts romantic fantasies involving Omi. Basically, her account is dedicated entirely to him. Meanwhile, Omi wins his tennis match. Feeling excited, Erika immediately makes a post on her Twitter account. She writes something like, "Our relationship is a secret. I can only watch him from afar." Then she adds the hashtag #NoBoyfriend. Later, when Omi heads toward his classroom, a crowd of girls surrounds him as usual. One girl even brings homemade cookies for him. When Omi politely accepts them, all the girls become even more excited, thinking about how kind and perfect he is. Erika is watching all of this from a distance. At the same time, she is hanging sports posters on the school walls. Suddenly, Omi walks over and takes one of the posters from her hands before leaving. Seeing her crush standing so close to her makes Erika's heart race. She feels butterflies in her stomach and can barely control her excitement. Of course, she immediately goes back to Twitter and makes another post about the moment. The truth is that Erika isn't good at talking to people, but she's perfectly happy living in her own fantasy world. A little later, while passing by the teacher's office, she overhears a conversation involving Omi. To her surprise, she sees Omi throwing away the cookies that the girl had given him earlier. Erika is completely shocked. This means Omi isn't the perfect, kind-hearted boy everyone believes him to be. In reality, he seems quite rude. As she stands there in disbelief, she accidentally bumps into the door, causing it to fall and make a loud noise. Omi immediately notices her and asks, "Are you okay?" But Erika becomes so embarrassed that she simply runs away. Unfortunately, in her panic, she accidentally leaves her phone behind. We are then introduced to Mr. Shiota, one of the teachers at the school. Interestingly, he is also Omi's uncle, and the two share a very close relationship. When Omi picks up the phone Erika left behind, he accidentally discovers her secret account. That's when he realizes that Erika is actually Lovesick Ellie, the mysterious person who has been posting romantic fantasies about him online. Meanwhile, Erika is still trying to process what she saw. She had spent so much time admiring Omi, only to discover that he might actually be a rude person. Just then, Omi suddenly appears in front of her. Naturally, Erika panics and asks, "What are you doing here?" Omi raises her phone and says, "I came because of this." The moment Erika sees her phone in his hand, she becomes even more nervous. Trying to act normal, she awkwardly laughs and says, "Haha, thank you for bringing my phone back." But Omi looks at her and asks, "You're the one who writes all those posts about me, aren't you? Lovesick Ellie?" The moment her secret is exposed, Erika nearly has a heart attack. She immediately starts apologizing and says, "Please forgive me, you've misunderstood everything." However, Omi doesn't seem upset. Instead, he says, "I usually ruin girls' fantasies, but if you keep what you saw earlier a secret, maybe I can make your fantasy come true." Then he slowly steps closer to her and says, "Isn't this what you want?" Erika becomes so embarrassed that she quickly pushes him away and creates some distance between them. Omi then says, "What's wrong? I'm not the person you imagine me to be. You think I'm this perfect, nice guy, but you just saw how rude I really am." Erika keeps staring at him for a moment before suddenly blurting out, "Okay then, let's kiss." The moment Omi hears that, he bursts out laughing. He finds her reaction absolutely hilarious and says, "You're really funny." Omi then tells Erika that everything that happened between them should remain a secret. He says, "I trust you, Lovesick Ellie." After saying that, he walks away. Meanwhile, Erika is completely overwhelmed with happiness. Just being that close to Omi is enough to make her heart explode with excitement. After that day, Erika decides that she should stop fantasizing about Omi and stop posting about him online. However, that determination lasts less than a day. The very next morning, she starts posting even more than before. In her imagination, Omi had come to see her personally, and the two of them had shared all kinds of romantic moments together. As usual, Erika becomes so lost in her fantasy world that she doesn't even realize the entire classroom has become empty. everyone has already left. The sad reality is that nobody really notices her. She doesn't have any friends either, and deep down, that loneliness hurts her. Then something unexpected happens. For the first time, someone comments on one of her posts. The comment comes from an account called Paralina. Seeing that comment instantly brightens Erika's mood. She becomes incredibly happy because finally someone has responded to her. A little later, she accidentally bumps into a girl named Sarah. Erika notices that Sarah is carrying Omi's tennis jersey, which immediately catches her attention. Soon afterward, Erika heads to Mr. Shioda's office. When she arrives there, she is surprised to find Omi waiting inside. Omi tells her that Mr. Shioda has gone to the staff room and casually mentions, "He's actually my uncle." Erika then nervously brings up the topic that's been bothering her. She asks, "You'll keep our secret, right?" Omi replies, "You mean the fact that you're Lovesick Ellie?" Erika quickly nods and says, "Yes, please don't tell anyone." Then she remembers something and adds, "By the way, I saw a girl carrying your jersey." Omi simply shrugs. "So what?" he says. Erika is confused by his reaction. Omi explains that things like that happen all the time. Girls are constantly taking his belongings and becoming overly obsessed with him. That's one of the reasons why he doesn't enjoy being so famous at school. Hearing this makes Erika realize something. Although Omi is surrounded by people all the time, he's actually very lonely. She immediately says, "Let's go get your jersey back." However, Omi refuses. He says, "This happens all the time. I don't want to get involved in unnecessary drama." Then he looks at Erika and adds, "You should focus on your own life. I don't really want advice from someone who's happy living inside her own fantasies." Those words hurt Erika more than she expected. Feeling disappointed, she quietly leaves. As she walks away, she thinks to herself, "Someone like Omi could never understand the feelings of an invisible girl like me." Just then, Mr. Shioda finally arrives. He apologizes for keeping her waiting and says, "Sorry about that. I was stuck in a meeting." Then he surprises Erika with an unexpected request. He tells her, "I'd like you to write next month's school newsletter." Erika points at herself in disbelief. "Me?" Mr. Shioda smiles and says, "Yes, I've heard you're a very talented writer." Erika is completely confused. Then Mr. Shioda reveals something even more surprising. "Omi told me." The moment she hears that, Erika freezes. She had assumed Omi looked down on her and thought she was strange, but instead he had noticed her talent and even praised her in front of a teacher. For the first time, Erika realizes that Omi had actually seen the good side of her. Feeling grateful, she quickly thanks Mr. Shioda before rushing off. Soon, she finds Sarah and confronts her. Holding up the jersey, Erika says, "This belongs to Omi. You should return it." Sarah doesn't seem interested in listening. Erika continues, "I know you like him. Honestly, you're much braver than me. I can't even approach him, but at least you tried. Still, taking someone's belongings without permission isn't right." What Erika doesn't realize is that Omi is nearby and hears every word. As he listens to her, he can't help thinking that this girl is unbelievably foolish. Meanwhile, Sarah completely ignores Erika and starts walking away. Determined to get the jersey back, Erika runs after her. Unfortunately, while chasing her, Erika loses her footing. She slips and falls down the stairs. Luckily, Omi reacts instantly. He rushes forward and catches her before she can hit the ground. Because of him, Erika isn't injured at all. A few moments later, Sarah runs over and urgently tells Omi, "Move away from her right now." At first, Erika assumes Sarah is angry because Omi is holding her. However, that's not the case at all. Sarah had actually rushed over because she was worried about Erika's safety. Looking directly at Erika, she says, "Hey, are you okay?" Then she points at Omi and says, "Boys only know how to take advantage of girls." Hearing that, Omi looks at her and jokingly asks, "Wait, aren't you supposed to be my fan?" Sarah instantly replies, "Not even in your worst dreams." Just like that, she completely embarrasses the most popular boy in school. Afterwards, Sarah returns Omi's jersey and apologizes for taking it without permission. She explains, "I'm sorry. Actually, your body proportions are perfect, so I wanted to use your measurements while designing clothes." At that moment, it becomes obvious that Sarah and Erika are actually very similar. Just like Erika is obsessed with Omi, Sarah has her own crush as well. She dreams of one day seeing the boy she likes wearing clothes that she personally designed. In other words, both girls are a little crazy when it comes to their crushes. And surprisingly, this becomes the beginning of their friendship. As Omi watches the two of them talking excitedly, he can't help thinking that both of these girls are completely weird. Later, after school, Omi catches up with Erika while she is heading home. He says, "I already told you that I didn't need that jersey back. So why did you go through all that trouble?" Then he adds, "We don't really have any connection. And I never asked for your help." Erika simply smiles. She says, "I know that deep down you're not as rude as you pretend to be. So no matter how much you scold me, I won't be upset. Omi stares at her for a moment before saying, "You really are an idiot." However, his expression softens. Then he says, "Anyway, thanks to you, I got my jersey back. So I want to give you a reward." Erika's eyes widen. "A reward?" After thinking for a moment, she says, "Then I want a reward from the real Omi, the one who's a little arrogant but smiles like a child." The moment Omi hears that, he falls silent. For the first time, he realizes that Erika understands him much better than most people do. Then he places the jersey into her hands and says, "Be happy with this." But before Erika can react, Omi suddenly covers her face, pulls her closer, and gently kisses her on the forehead. Then he looks directly at her and asks, "Are you ready to receive my love?" Erika is completely stunned. Her brain practically stops working. But before she can answer, Omi laughs and says, "Time's up. You took too long to respond." After teasing her, he simply walks away. At this point, it's pretty obvious that Omi has already started falling for the crazy girl. Meanwhile, Erika convinces herself that Omi was only joking around. Still, she can't deny that being close to him makes her incredibly happy. The next day, she tells Sarah everything that happened. After hearing the story, Sarah immediately says, "He's definitely messing with you." Just then, we are introduced to Leo. Leo and Sarah have been best friends since childhood. Unlike Sarah, Leo has a different opinion. He says, maybe Omi actually meant what he said. But Sarah quickly shakes her head. "Never trust boys," she says confidently. Erika doesn't know who to believe. Later, while she is walking somewhere, Omi suddenly appears and pulls her aside. He tells her, "Come home with me today. I'll walk you back." Erika apologizes and says, "Sorry, but I have work to do in the school garden today." Omi doesn't give up. Instead, he asks, "Fine. Then you're free tomorrow, right?" However, Erika replies, "Actually, I already have plans with Sarah tomorrow." The moment he hears that, Omi looks visibly annoyed. Without saying much more, he simply turns around and leaves. His reaction makes one thing very clear. Omi genuinely likes Erika and is becoming jealous. Unfortunately, Erika still refuses to believe that he's serious. Instead, she keeps thinking, if only all of this were real. A little later, Erika is working in the school garden. At that moment, a teacher approaches her and asks her to help a boy named Kaname with some work. Just like Erika, Kaname is also a very lonely person. He doesn't have any friends either, so the two of them can somewhat relate to each other's situation. The next day, Erika arrives at the teacher's office early and works hard to finish her writing assignment as quickly as possible. The reason is simple. She hopes that today she'll finally be able to walk home with Omi. While she is working, Mr. Shiota asks Omi, "The sports tournament is coming up soon. Which event are you planning to participate in?" Without hesitation, Omi replies, "Tennis." The moment Erika hears that, she becomes excited. She immediately starts imagining herself cheering for Omi from up close during the tournament. Of course, she gets completely lost in her fantasy world once again. Omi notices her daydreaming and walks over. With a teasing smile, he asks, "Lost in your fantasies again?" Erika quickly denies it and pretends nothing happened. A moment later, Omi says, "I'm heading home now. Make sure you get home safely too." After he leaves, Erika feels a little disappointed because she had hoped they would go home together. A few days later, the school's sports festival finally begins. Erika participates in the table tennis competition. To everyone's surprise, she's actually very skilled. She performs so well that she manages to reach the finals. Sarah is incredibly happy for her friend and congratulates her. Then she says, "Omi's final tennis match is about to start. Aren't you going to watch it?" Meanwhile, Omi has also reached the finals of the tennis tournament. Considering how talented and hardworking he is, it's not surprising at all. However, not everyone admires him. Some of the boys are jealous of Omi's popularity. They whisper among themselves saying that Omi doesn't practice as much as everyone thinks. Others claim that he only gets opportunities because he's handsome and famous. Hearing those comments deeply hurts Omi. Without saying anything, he quietly walks away. At the same time, Erika is sitting in the audience waiting to watch his match. She has even brought a blanket with her because she wants to support and cheer for him. Suddenly, she overhears some girls talking. That's when she learns that Omi is supposedly injured. The girls are worried because he isn't even at the school clinic. Hearing this, Erika immediately starts searching for him. After looking around, she finally finds him resting inside his uncle's office. Wanting to help without disturbing him, she quietly walks over and gently places the blanket around him. She is about to leave when she accidentally bumps into something, creating a noise. The sound wakes Omi up. Erika quickly asks, "Are you okay?" Omi calmly replies, "I'm not injured." Erika looks confused. Then Omi admits, "I lied. I just made up the injury so I could get out of the match." Erika is shocked. "You lied?" She continues, "Everyone is worried about you. All those girls are looking for you." But Omi suddenly becomes irritated. He says, "That's exactly the problem. It's all fake." Then he adds bitterly, "If another handsome guy showed up tomorrow, all those girls would become obsessed with him instead." After that, he says, "Just leave me alone, go away." At that moment, the blanket slips off his shoulders and falls to the floor. Eriko misunderstands the situation completely. She thinks Omi intentionally threw away the blanket she brought for him. Feeling hurt, she says, "You're awful, you're really rude." Then she runs away in tears. At first, Omi doesn't understand why she suddenly became upset, but after a few moments, he realizes that she misunderstood what happened with the blanket. Meanwhile, Erika's table tennis final is about to begin. Because she is still upset about what happened with Omi, she can't focus properly. As a result, she starts the match poorly. Just then, Omi suddenly appears at the venue. Holding the blanket in his hands, he rushes over to her. Before the match starts, he smiles and wishes her good luck. The moment Eriko sees him standing there, all of her sadness disappears. Her mood instantly improves. This time, she plays with confidence and gives everything she has. Although Eriko eventually loses the match by only 2 points, she performs amazingly well. She finishes the tournament as the runner-up. Everyone praises her effort and congratulates her on her performance. Some students even ask to take pictures with her. For a girl who was usually invisible to everyone around her, this feels like a dream come true. Eriko is overwhelmed with happiness. For the first time, many students are talking to her and acknowledging her efforts. After enjoying the moment, Eriko finally makes her way over to Omi. When Eriko finally approaches Omi, he smiles and says, "Congratulations on becoming the first runner-up." Eriko immediately apologizes for the way she treated him earlier. She says, "I'm sorry for getting angry at you. When I heard that you weren't going to play in the finals, I was really disappointed." Then she continues, "Because I know how hard you've worked to become the champion." At this point, we get a flashback. It turns out Eriko had noticed that Omi's hand was injured. There were times when he could barely carry his own bag properly because of the pain. Curious and worried about him, Eriko had secretly followed him one day. That's when she witnessed how incredibly hard Omi practiced. Even with his injury, he continued training tirelessly, pushing himself to the limit because he desperately wanted to win the championship. Returning to the present, Eriko says, "Everyone thinks you're just lucky, but nobody knows how hard you work." She continues, "Nobody sees how much effort you put in every single day or how you always give your absolute best." Then, just like a true supporter, she starts cheering for him again. "Omi, keep moving forward." She smiles warmly and says, "I'll always be by your side, and no matter what, I'll accept you completely." The moment Omi hears those words, something inside him changes. Without thinking, he suddenly wraps his arms around Eriko from behind. Eriko instantly panics and jumps away in embarrassment. Omi looks surprised and says, "Didn't you just say you'd accept me completely?" Flustered, Eriko replies, "I did, but I didn't expect you to get that close." Omi can't help laughing. He says, "You really need to come out of your fantasy world." Just then, they hear the voices of approaching students. Not wanting anyone to see them together, the two quickly hide nearby. As Eriko is about to say something, Omi gently silences her. Then he looks directly into her eyes and says, "Eriko, I like you." For a moment, Eriko completely freezes. She simply stares at him with her mouth hanging open. Her dream is finally becoming reality. She is just about to say, "I like you too." But before she can finish her sentence, Omi suddenly kisses her. After the kiss, he smiles and says, "From now on, you're my girlfriend." The moment Eriko hears those words, she feels like she's floating on air. The boy she had admired from afar for so long has finally become her boyfriend. Her biggest fantasy has finally come true. Now she's happy in her imaginary world and even happier in real life. The next day, Eriko is sitting in the cafeteria, secretly staring at Omi. She keeps thinking, "My crush is actually my boyfriend now. I still can't believe it." While she's daydreaming, Omi notices her and gives her a playful wink. That simple gesture is enough to make Eriko nearly die from embarrassment. In her imagination, everyone immediately figures out that they're dating. People start praising how good they look together as a couple. Of course, this is all happening inside Eriko's head. In reality, the two of them barely talk at school. For the time being, they want to keep their relationship a secret. After school, as usual, a crowd of girls surrounds Omi. Eventually, he manages to escape from them and meets up with Eriko so they can walk home together. However, Eriko becomes nervous. She says, "Maybe we shouldn't walk home together. I think it's better if we keep some distance." Deep down, she's afraid of being judged by other students. Omi, however, has a different idea. He asks, "Do you have some free time today?" Then he explains, "My parents will be home late tonight. Why don't you come to my house?" After a little hesitation, Eriko agrees. For the first time ever, she enters Omi's room. Naturally, she's both excited and extremely nervous. Being alone together creates a surprisingly romantic atmosphere. At one point, Omi slowly leans closer, intending to kiss kiss her. But Erika immediately becomes shy and freezes. Seeing her reaction, Omi gently says, "It's okay, I don't want to pressure you." However, Erika quickly shakes her head. "No, it's fine." Then she closes her eyes and tries to kiss him herself. Unfortunately, because she's so nervous, she completely misses and accidentally kisses his neck instead. Realizing what she just did, Erika turns bright red from embarrassment. Omi finds her reaction adorable, so he kisses her neck as well and says, "Now we're even." Hearing that makes Erika incredibly happy. The next day, Erika is once again helping out in the school garden. While taking a break, she checks her social media account. Just like before, the mysterious account named Paralina has left another comment on her post. And once again, Erika becomes curious about the identity of the person behind that account. Erika happily replies to the comment from the Paralina account. At this point, the two of them have practically become online friends. Even though they've never properly met through these identities, they regularly exchange messages, and Erika always enjoys talking with this mysterious person. While she is working in the garden, she accidentally trips and drops the basket she is carrying. Kaname immediately rushes over to help her. Unfortunately, Erika has also hurt her leg during the fall. Wanting to check if she's injured, Kaname bends down to look at her ankle. However, Erika becomes flustered and instinctively pushes him away. The moment she does that, she immediately regrets it and starts apologizing. But Kaname is visibly hurt. Feeling discouraged, he says, "There must be something wrong with me. That's why nobody likes me." Hearing that, Erika quickly tries to comfort him. She says, "It's not like that at all." Then she shares a little about herself. "My life used to be the same. I didn't have any friends either." She smiles and continues, "But now I've met people who encourage me and help me move forward. So don't lose hope." Just then, a teacher calls Erika over to help with something, forcing her to leave. After she walks away, Kaname remains sitting there alone. That's when we learn a surprising secret. The owner of the Paralina account is actually Kaname. In other words, he's the person who has been talking with Erika online this entire time. A few moments later, Kaname sends another message to Lovesick Ellie. As soon as he does, he hears a notification sound nearby. Following the sound, he notices a phone receiving the exact message notification he just sent. At that moment, Erika comes back to pick up her phone. And just like that, Kaname discovers that Lovesick Ellie is actually Erika. In the next scene, their teacher enters the classroom with an announcement. The school's cultural festival is approaching, and one student from the class needs to be selected as a member of the planning committee. Almost immediately, the students start recommending Erika. After all, she performed extremely well during the sports festival and has proven herself to be responsible and hardworking. Many of her classmates say that she would be perfect for the position. To Erika's surprise, people are actually recognizing her efforts now. Eventually, she agrees to become a member of the planning committee. Meanwhile, Kaname can't take his eyes off her. Later that night, Erika meets Omi while he is practicing tennis. Omi says, "So you're on the planning committee now." Then he sighs dramatically and adds, "That means you're going to be really busy. When are you going to have time for me?" Hearing that makes Erika laugh. Omi then says, "Once the cultural festival is over, make sure you save some time for me." The following day at school, Kaname finally decides to reveal the truth. He approaches Erika and pulls her aside. Then he asks, "Erika, you're Lovesick Ellie, aren't you?" The question completely catches her off guard. Before she can respond, Kaname continues, "The Paralina account belongs to me." Erika is absolutely stunned. Her mind immediately starts racing. She thinks, does this mean he's going to blackmail me now? Is he going to force me to do whatever he wants? The more she thinks about it, the more nervous she becomes. Meanwhile, Omi happens to arrive nearby and overhears part of their conversation. Kaname then says something Erika never expected. "I need a favor." Erika braces herself for the worst. But instead, Kaname simply asks, "Will you be my friend?" Erika is speechless. She had prepared herself to be blackmailed, but all Kaname wanted was friendship. Just then, both of them notice Omi standing nearby. Realizing it's probably not the best time to continue the conversation, Kaname tells Erika to think about it and then leaves. After he's gone, Omi walks over. Trying to reassure her, he says, "Don't worry." Then he adds, "Just make your account private and block Kaname. That'll solve everything." However, Erika shakes her head. "He only asked if we could be friends." Omi doesn't seem very convinced, but eventually drops the subject. Instead, he changes the topic. "I've decided to participate in the tennis tournament after all." The moment Erika hears that, her face lights up. She's genuinely happy that he has chosen to compete again. Then Omi smiles and says, "In that case, I'll become the champion for your sake." Hearing those words makes Erika even happier. Once again, Omi manages to make her heart race without even trying. Omi tells Erika, "I'll handle the situation with Kaname. If he genuinely wants a friend, then I'll be his friend. A few days later, during a school holiday, Kaname invites Erika to visit an aquarium with him. However, Erika decides to bring Omi along as well. The moment Kaname sees Omi, it's obvious that he isn't happy about it at all. In his mind, he had imagined spending the day alone with Erika. Looking directly at Omi, Kaname asks, "What are you doing here?" Erika quickly explains, "Actually, Omi wants to be friends with you." Kaname immediately responds, "Well, I don't." Omi is caught off guard. "What?" Kaname then asks a question that's been bothering him. "What exactly is your relationship with Erika? And why do you keep getting involved between me and her?" Omi is just about to answer, "Because I'm Erika's boyfriend." But before he can say it, Erika quickly interrupts him. "We're friends." The moment those words leave her mouth, Omi's expression changes. Even though Erika says it to protect their secret relationship, hearing himself reduced to just a friend hurts him more than he expected. Sensing the tension between them, Kaname decides to leave and gives them some space. Later, while heading home, Erika apologizes to Omi. She says, "I'm sorry, you came all this way for me." Then she tries to defend Kaname. "I know Kaname can be a little straightforward, but he's not a bad person. Please don't take his words personally." She continues, "If you give him some time, I'm sure he'll eventually warm up to you." However, Omi is already frustrated. He asks, "Why should I wait for him to accept me?" Then he brings up something that's been bothering him. "When I was about to tell him that I'm your boyfriend, why did you stop me?" Erika explains, "If people at school find out about us, everyone will start gossiping." Omi stares at her. "So that's the only reason? The truth is, Omi isn't just upset about the secret relationship. He's jealous. Jealous of how much attention Erika is giving Kaname. Then he asks, "Why are you so determined to become friends with him? Making friends isn't that difficult. You could become friends with anyone. Why does it have to be him?" Unfortunately, those words hit Erika deeply, because for someone like her, making friends has never been easy. Not even close. She says, "My friendship with Sarah happened by pure luck." Then she lowers her head and continues, "If that hadn't happened, I'd probably still be alone." Finally, she looks at Omi and says, "You'll never understand how I feel." Omi immediately responds, "You're right, I don't understand." Then he asks a painful question, "But do you understand how I feel?" He continues, "You and Kaname seem to understand each other perfectly. Much better than you and I understand each other." Erika looks confused. "What are you trying to say?" Omi takes a deep breath before replying, "If that's the case, then why don't you just date Kaname instead?" His words shock Erika. Then Omi continues, "If we can't even understand each other, maybe this relationship doesn't mean anything." Erika's eyes begin to fill with tears. In a trembling voice, she asks, "Are you saying we should break up?" After a long pause, Omi quietly replies, "Maybe." Those single words completely shatter Erika's heart. She slowly nods and says, "Okay." After that, Omi turns around and walks away. The moment he's gone, Erika breaks down crying. The boy she loved more than anyone has just ended their relationship, and she can't do anything to stop it. From that day forward, Erika stops posting on her Lovesick Ellie account. The account that used to be filled with excitement and fantasies suddenly becomes silent. Kaname notices the change almost immediately. Since he's the one behind the Paralina account, he realizes that Erika hasn't posted anything for a long time. Without even asking, he can tell that something is wrong. Meanwhile, Omi isn't doing any better. Even though he was the one who suggested ending things, he's miserable. His heart hurts just as much as Erika's. Neither of them is able to move on. As time passes, the day of the cultural festival finally arrives. Everyone is busy preparing for the event. However, a major problem suddenly occurs in their class. Several students end up suffering from food poisoning after eating some candy. As a result, the entire class falls into chaos just as the festival is about to begin. Things become even more complicated during the cultural festival. The chairman of the planning committee suddenly falls ill and is admitted to the hospital. As a result, all of the responsibilities end up falling onto Erika's shoulders. And because Erika has a hard time refusing people, she accepts every task that comes her way. Before she realizes it, she's handling almost the entire festival by herself. The worst part is that very few people are actually helping her. Meanwhile, when Omi learns that Erika is doing all the work alone, he immediately decides to go help her. However, when he arrives, he sees Erika and Kaname talking together. The sight instantly makes him hesitate. Instead of going inside, he remains standing outside and watches from a distance. Inside, Erika continues working while Kaname helps her. Kaname says, "Everyone dumped all the work on you again," but Erika simply smiles. She replies, "Actually, I'm happy." Kaname looks confused. Erika continues, "For the first time in my life, people are trusting me with something important." Then she says, "Before this, nobody even noticed I existed." As she reflects on everything that's happened, she realizes just how much her life has changed. And most of that change began after meeting Omi. She smiles softly and says, "After Omi entered my life, everything started changing." Thinking back, she realizes how true that statement is. If Omi hadn't shown up to support her during her table tennis final, she probably wouldn't have played so well. If she hadn't performed well, her classmates might never have noticed her. They wouldn't have praised her. They wouldn't have started trusting her. In many ways, Omi completely changed her world. As Kaname listens to her talk about Omi, he finally understands something. Erika truly loves him. Deep down, Kaname had also started developing feelings for Erika, but hearing her speak so passionately about Omi makes him realize that her heart already belongs to someone else. Instead of holding on to those feelings, he quietly chooses to let them go. Then he smiles and says, "You know, at first I was only teasing you." After a brief pause, he adds, "You should go and fix things with Omi." Before he can continue, Erika stops him. Then she says something heartfelt. "Back when my only existence was on social media, your messages always made me happy." She smiles warmly. "So thank you, Mr. Paralina." Kaname laughs. Then he replies, "I was happy too." He continues, "Whenever Lovesick Ellie talked to me, it felt like I finally had a friend." And just like that, the two of them form a genuine friendship. Not a romance, just a beautiful friendship between two lonely people who helped each other through difficult times. Outside the room, Omi overhears everything. Finally, all of his misunderstandings about Kaname disappear. He realizes that Kaname never intended to come between him and Erika. The moment Omi understands the truth, he immediately runs toward his tennis tournament. This time, he's determined to give everything he has. After all, he made a promise to Erika. He promised that he would become the champion. Meanwhile, poor Erika continues working non-stop at the festival. Because of all her responsibilities, she doesn't even have time to go watch Omi's match. She spends the entire day running around and handling problems by herself. Naturally, it becomes exhausting. A few students eventually come over to help her. Unfortunately, not everyone is supportive. Some rude students begin criticizing her. They complain, "She's not even qualified to be the committee chairman." Just as they continue complaining, Leo suddenly steps in. He immediately starts yelling at them. "If you have enough time to complain, then use your hands and help instead." His words leave everyone speechless. Sarah watches the whole thing from nearby. For the first time, she sees a different side of Leo. Then Leo turns toward her and says, "Your friend is important to you, so she's important to me too." Hearing those words causes something strange to happen inside Sarah's heart. For the first time, she starts looking at Leo differently. Meanwhile, Erika enters the storage room to move some supplies. As she's reaching for a box, a heavy basket suddenly starts falling toward her. She doesn't even have time to react. But at the last second, Omi appears and pulls her to safety. The basket crashes down harmlessly beside them. Omi immediately asks, "Are you okay?" However, Erika asks a different question first. "Are you okay? What happened to your tournament?" Omi smiles. Then he lifts something up in front of her. A trophy. He says, "I made you a promise. I told you I would win." The moment Erika sees the trophy, her face lights up. Omi actually did it. He became the champion. Then Omi looks at her and says, "The only reason I was able to win was because you were supporting me." After a brief pause, he continues, "Without you, I probably would have made another excuse and run away from the tournament again." Omi looks at Erika and says, "But I made a promise to you. That's why I gave it everything I had." Then he smiles and adds, "So thank you." Hearing those words makes Erika incredibly happy. She smiles back and says, "Then I'll give my best too." After saying that, she immediately runs back to her duties. From that moment on, Erika throws herself into the festival work with everything she's got. This time, however, she's not alone. Many students start helping her. Seeing how hard she's working inspires everyone around her. Watching her from a distance, Omi can't help smiling. He's proud of how much she's grown. Eventually, evening arrives and the cultural festival finally comes to an end. Once everything is over, Erika's classmates gather around her. They sincerely thank her for all of her hard work. "You handled everything perfectly. Thank you so much." For someone who used to feel invisible, hearing those words means everything. Erika is genuinely happy. Meanwhile, Leo quietly whispers something into Sarah's ear. A moment later, Sarah Sarah comes up with an excuse and sends Erika to the rooftop. Of course, Sarah and Leo did this on purpose. They know exactly who is waiting for her there. When Erika arrives on the rooftop, she immediately understands what is happening. Omi is standing there waiting for her. The two finally get a chance to talk honestly. Omi takes a deep breath and says, "Back then, I never tried to understand your feelings. I acted selfishly." Erika immediately tries to deny it, but Omi continues, "I was terrible because of the whole situation with Kaname. Please forgive me." Then he admits something important. "The truth is, I'm exactly the same. No one ever really understood me either." He looks directly into her eyes. "But when I realized that you understood me, I wanted you to know me even better." His voice softens. "Because of you, I experienced genuine happiness." Then he finally says what's been in his heart all this time. "I don't want to stay away from you anymore. So, will you give me another chance?" A brief pause follows. Then he asks, "Will you be my girlfriend again?" The moment Erika hears those words, tears begin rolling down her cheeks. She has wanted to hear this more than anything. Through her tears, she smiles and says, "Yes, I'll be your girlfriend." Then, in her usual awkward way, she adds, "And I'll touch you a lot." Omi immediately bursts out laughing. "Pervert Ellie!" Then he gently pulls her into his arms. Looking at her affectionately, he says, "Thank you for falling in love with me, Ellie." After that, the two share a sweet kiss and officially get back together. The next day, Omi arrives at school holding Erika's hand. Erika is dying from embarrassment. She's convinced everyone is going to talk about them. But this time, Omi doesn't care. He no longer wants to keep their relationship a secret. To him, it doesn't matter what other people think. Of course, not everyone reacts positively. Some girls complain and say, "That's Omi's girlfriend? Who does she think she is? We don't like them together at all." Hearing those comments hurts Erika a little, but before she can become too upset, Omi walks over to her. Then he confidently says, "You're mine, so I'll protect you." Those simple words instantly make Erika feel better. Not everyone is criticizing them, though. Many students actually compliment the couple and say they look great together. And honestly, that's all that matters. The two of them are happy. Mr. Shiota is also delighted to see them together. Meanwhile, Sarah and Leo are having their own romantic moment. Sarah tells Leo, "I want to make clothes for you next." For Sarah, designing clothes is how she expresses her feelings. In other words, this is her indirect confession. Leo immediately understands what she means, and needless to say, he's very happy. This marks the beginning of their own love story. Meanwhile, Erika continues posting on her Lovesick Ellie account. Kaname still reads every post. However, unlike before, Kaname now has friends of his own. He's no longer lonely, and that makes him genuinely happy. At one point, Erika thinks to herself, "Now that everything has worked out, maybe I should stop fantasizing." But only a second later, she shakes her head. No way. That's impossible. There are still thousands of fantasies that haven't come true yet. Kaname sees her endless stream of new posts and can't help being amazed. Just then, Omi appears and asks, "Are you fantasizing again?" Erika smiles to herself. The truth is that she'll probably never stop being Lovesick Ellie. That's simply who she is. And with Omi by her side, she's happier than ever. The two continue laughing and teasing each other, surrounded by the people who care about them. And with that sweet and funny moment, this heartwarming story comes to an end.